Intro. Bam. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Edges podcast. Got an incredible human on today, Arian Foster. How you doing, man? You good?
Everything is everything, brother. How you been?
I'm doing great, man. I'm pumped to have you on. And we talked briefly real quick, but you've just we played together really quickly with the Houston Texans, but I've always been intrigued by you. And then we did a little bit of jiu-jitsu for a little while together, and I got to see that curiosity and like that kind of commitment spark, and I've always admired that in humans. So I'm pumped to talk to you. But the kind of the premise and how I always start this is like, where are you chasing edges? Like, where are you learning? Where are you curious right now in your life?
Yeah, man. I think I appreciate you having me on, by the way, man.
Easy now, but I'm legit pumped to talk to you.
For sure. I think right now, man, I think it's a really weird play. I always tell people when you retire young, I'll go on planes, right? And I'll talk to older cats, like, what do you do for them? And I'm like, oh, I'm retired. And it's hard to tell people that, right? Because it's like 30 years old and you retire. It's just a weird place to be. So you have like all the free time and all the resources that you want, but it's a weird place. So I've just been trying to kind of explore myself, and that has led to a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And I think that it's a privilege for sure. And I'm very appreciative of everything that the game brought me. So yeah, I'm delving in everything, man. I read, I study, I play games. I got kids, so I do a lot of stuff with them, and I'm just kind of everywhere with it, man.
Yeah, I mean that's I love the retirement conversation, because it's like the transition process from being an athlete's always interesting, fragile, all those things, but it's the ability to again learn to be curious again. And then like obviously like saying like retirement, like I never kind of viewed it as like the long-term goal anyways, like retire, like even like if you're retiring at 65, like we'll say like a gen pop human, like retirement shouldn't mean stop everything. It's still, you need to be curious, you need to learn, grow, and like growth can be like depth of relationships, parenting, like all those things. And like that's where I like to reframe like the retirement and like the life after football, and just try and get everybody as curious as humanly possible. And like obviously I've seen you do that a little bit. Like I'm a connoisseur of the music. Artist name is Bobby Feeno. Some great music if you want to go check it out. But then like even like I saw you dive into the jiu-jitsu, and then like obviously you're learning and growing elsewhere. Like what was the initial transition like for you, like when you did retire? Because what you end up retiring after that stint with the Dolphins, right? That was was that 16? Yeah, damn, time flies. Uh-oh.
My bad. I'm muted. I muted myself.
Oh yeah, you good.
My bad. It's crazy. I'm already 6 years out the league. It's crazy how it just goes, man. Like my daughter, my oldest daughter is 12. She's 12. Like right now, she's in Washington D.C. on a school field trip, and I'm like, Jesus, she's by herself in D.C. But got to cut the umbilical cord. But I think that transition for me was that initial step was just decompressing. Like it was just, I had a lifelong, growing up in so much drama, so much turmoil, and having, a one-track mind of just getting to where I wanted to go, and then doing it, and all the pitfalls and the highs and the lows that go with that. I retired, and I never really gave myself a chance to breathe throughout the entire thing. And I think that's the biggest thing I noticed and everybody kind of goes through that to a certain extent, as the rat race in America. It's you got to go do this, got to do this, got to do that, got to do that. And you just really don't like, oh my God, I'm alive, right? That's like a very simple but deep thought. And the shit that you mentioned, it's just exploring your interpersonal relationships, how you treated people, like what kind of human do you want to be, like all these things kind of took a back seat to what I was exploring and what I was trying to do career wise. And so you have to revisit all of that. You have to revisit who you were as a kid. You have to revisit all of, and those are the deeper things, right? I know a lot of people just relax and don't do anything, but like I can't. Like I'm an analytical by nature, and so these are the kind of things I've kind of been delving into, and it's deep. Like I've been in a therapy. I've been, reconnected with people that I've lost touch with, just to feel again. Because I think, especially when you play the sport that we play, you have to have this shell, this like tough guy shell, and rightfully so, right? Rightfully so. It's not an easy sport to play, and it's not an easy fishbowl to live in. And so I think over the years I just developed and just hardened emotionally, and like it's unraveling all of that and unpacking all of that has really brought me to the place I am right now, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, that's super dope, just because like yeah, I had Kush on here too, and he talked about like how the game, if you stay in it long enough, desensitizes you and changes like the dynamic of your relationship with friends and teammates. But like the ability to like sit there and unpack, like I had this really cool Olympian phrase it to me that like basically, like obviously like sport definitely is like a one track mind, but your relationships are different when the game's there, especially like the NFL. And she broke it down to me. Her name's Caroline Burkle. She's an Olympic swimmer, and she goes like, when you get out of sport, you have to be an infant again. You have to learn yourself, which is hard enough as it is. Like you can't just like transition from the top of this mountain and just start going. Like you do need to do some like self-observation, inventory, like all those things. But like you need to learn how to be a friend again without the game involved, how to be a son, how to be a dad, like like how to train again without the structure of this game. And like the intuition, dude. I mean, like I love how you phrased it, like the intuition to actually sit and decompress and start to solve some of these problems, because like the brain's going to solve the problems, like create problems anyways. Like I mean, you're a very successful football player. Like everybody, oh, he should be great. Like he should be fine. He has all the resources in the world. He has a name. He has a platform. Like whatever. But like no, like it doesn't matter how good your life is. That's why like money's not the route to happiness. Like, yeah, everybody should experience money so that they can realize that it's not the fucking solution, so that you can start solving health and happiness. But like the intuition to decompress is dope. When you did start to like decompress and stuff, do you like, because like I want to bleed this into your creative process too, just because it intrigues me, but did you journal? Did you meditate? Were you just thinking? Were you just talking to people? Like what was going on?
Honestly, I it didn't happen until I got forced into doing it, because at first retirement to me was like, I don't know if you ever felt this, but like I remember in high school, I was like, bro, I cannot wait till I get out of high school, because I'm just gonna be free. I'm just gonna be free. And I had that feeling when I retired. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna be free. And so I did that. I was just free. And upon the freedom, like you had to really like, I had to really like think about what freedom actually meant. I didn't know what it meant. And I always tell people, man, like, yo, you say you want freedom, like freedom, but like it's a dangerous thing, because what you have to do, and I'm still struggling with a lot of this stuff, but what you have to do is you have to face your vices. You have to really face your vices, and that means looking in the mirror. And so when you have freedom, like real freedom, financial freedom, and you have no like real responsibilities other than like obligations to people around you, it's dangerous, because you get selfish, right? Initially I got real selfish, and I was like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, because I've been giving my entire life. And I just be 100% keep it a buck, man. Like I lost myself. Like I was drinking a lot. I just did anything. I just didn't do anything. So sometimes I didn't leave the bed for 2-3 days, right? And it's just, that's what that decompression was. And just being kind to myself is what I needed, because I was just on the go. The lifestyle is 5 a.m. You're working out during practice, and you're working out later, and it's just a mental grind, a physical grind. And so it was just me saying, I ain't doing shit. I'm just doing what I want to do. But I think what I really learned was, you're not really your full self until you're in servitude of something. And that's what I think is lost in the aspect of freedom. It's cloaked in selfishness, but at the core of it is actually servitude. And you have to people always talk about religious people, and I'm not religious, but like religious people always talk about you got to find purpose, like, and that's a real thing that we all have to struggle with. But that on top of like some, personal things that I went through as far as like relationship wise, like I got cheated on. Like I had never got cheated on before. That was a whole, ordeal emotionally. But going through therapy is what really helped me, because a lot of the times especially me, we're always looking for somebody to blame for our issues, right? And granted, the things that happen to you might not be in your control, but what you can do is realize the part you played in it. And that is taking some, control, but it's also taking accountability. Like not everybody can do that. And it's hard because it's just a lot of ego swallowing. You got to eat a lot of crow. But yeah, long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's dope, because I've been there too. And it's interesting to me just because I started therapy last fall, was massive for me. I found a really cool book at the right time too, Awareness by Anthony DeMello, which approached identity and selfishness and all those kind of things. And it's like again, like, and the cool thing about therapy, and I mean, there's religion, all this stuff shows, and like you actually said a bunch of stuff that I'd love to unpack, but like that servitude mindset, obviously, like I think that just becomes in the belief that like there's something bigger than yourself, and like that doesn't have to be God or nature or whatever it ends up being, but like once you realize you're not the center of the universe, and there is these connection and like this transition of energy, person to person, God to human, whatever you want to say, like that's very important, because I've recently found that with my ability to coach and help and that kind of thing too. But then now, like I lost my train of thought on the identity bit.
Talking about servitude.
Yeah, the servitude bit. But then like you went into so the therapy kind of showed me in general, like I was pointing fingers too, whether it was at my past or my parents or like this person that cheated on me or whatever it ends up being. But like the empowerment that came from it for me is like basically that like whether I'm helped or I'm hurt, like I did it. And the Anthony DeMello book dropped this line on me where it was like trusting people. Like really, it's not like that person broke my trust. It's really like it's really, really hard to say I had poor judgment and trusted that person. Yeah, which was kind of dope, because nobody wants to be like point the finger at themselves and go through that. But like, no, dude, yeah, that unraveling and but it takes courage to go to therapy in general, just because like some people have some negative connotation of it. But like another unbiased opinion is just a mirror. And like, cause you can only do so much depth, and like the trusting of your own narrative only goes so far. So I think more people should partake without the guilt or like what's the shame of thinking like that's a weakness. And I think that's massive strength. Like vulnerability is massive strength. And the more I've learned that talking to humans after football, particularly athletes and military and stuff, like that's where like the dogs show up and like people actually progress and heal and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm ranting now.
No, I think what our generation was the first generation of adults who has marketed mental health at all. Like when we were growing up, it was like suck that shit up, blah blah. You know what I mean? That was what we grew up with. So it's like we broke the mold. And granted, I think the internet had a lot to do with it, because you find a sense of community. It's like, man, I don't feel good, right? Whereas before, our parents and their parents and their parents were just like, they didn't have any outlets. And so they resorted to a lot of their vices. Like, and that's just where they lived. And that's just how it was. And you sucked it up. And that's why you see I'm not judging all old couples, but a lot of old couples would just stick it out. Like they're just miserable together, and they would just stick it out because they didn't have a chance to like feel or talk to each other, have an outlet. And so I'm curious to see the next generation, how things are going to unfold, because they're growing up in a world where one, information is readily available, good and bad, but two, they're growing up in a world where they're seeing adults say it's okay to cry. Like men, it's okay to cry. Like I didn't, that was not that you was a bitch in my eyes if you cry when I was growing up, right? That's what I thought. That's just all I knew. Until I realized like I was harboring so much anger and hurt and resentment and bitterness and just toxicity. And once I realized that, last night, seriously, that the new Netflix movie with Ryan Reynolds, I think his name is.
The Adam Project. I actually just watched it.
Adam Project. Fire. Cried in the middle of it when she was talking. He was at the bar talking to his mom
oh yeah, dude, I got teared up too.
I cried, bro. I was like, holy shit, because a lot of that shit that he was saying, and he killed the scene. But a lot of that shit he was saying is like, I felt, and it's like literally like reconnecting with my mother on an emotional level was like huge for me, that I never thought I needed. Like, because there was a point in time where I was just so hardened in all the shit that I went through that like I couldn't even I didn't hug my mom for a long time. Like, and that's my mom. I love her more than anybody on this earth. And I was just emotionally shallow. I had nothing. There's no depth emotionally to me. I was just like strictly business. It is what it is. But allowing myself to feel was the biggest gift I gave myself. And I'm, like I said, I'm just curious to see how the next generation is going to pan out, like leading towards empathy.
Yeah. And I think, it's just going to be, there's so many just variables that are going to be involved, whether it's the toxicity of the social or the power of the social connection that can come from online and that kind of stuff. And then who censors it and controls it's a whole nother rabbit hole in and of itself. But the crying thing always intrigues me, just because I addressed that too in therapy, where like I used to be super, like I cried probably way too long, and like I was always mad that my dad didn't tell me to stop crying. Like I'd cry when I like struck out till I was like, I don't know, 12, 13. So like I was always ashamed of that. And then like I end up having to write a letter to that self and like basically like talk my wisdom into that kid. And it showed up as like, dude, like crying only shows you care. Like this is a good thing. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. And it just rolled into like, and empowered me. And it solved, put like a demon to sleep kind of deal in that realm, and opened up my empathy and that kind of thing. But yeah, dude, it's just the next generation. Like I actually kind of like your perspective with the kind of like the divorce concept, where it's like people always stuck it out, and like how good was that for the kids they're raising, like all those, like it just I haven't been married, or I don't have any kids or anything, so I don't know how to like view that with like firsthand experience. But like that is crazy intriguing, because like everybody says divorce rates are up, like that's a problem or whatever, like again, like, or people are changing jobs 10 times before they turn 30 or whatever it ends up being. But like that's the world now, where it's like like there's options, and like, but like the mental health thing is a whole nother ballpark too, because I kind of coach in that world. I coach breath work and mental skills now to athletes and some businesses and those kind of things. And it just it's funny where that bleeds. And then like especially when you start talking to kids now, I kind of have this two-sided thought on it, where like, yeah, I think mental health awareness is great. And then, but also it's like handing them terms to identify with too. And like, that's where I think the teachers and the parents are going to be super integral in like guiding this next generation through school and through young adulthood and all those kind of things. Because like, if you keep giving kids lists of depression, anxiety, and those kind of things, they can identify with it. And like, I've talked about this on the podcast before, where like the problem with like identity in general, particularly with emotions, like that you shouldn't identify with emotions. Like you're a human that's going to like experience the whole scale. So like there's a massive difference between saying I'm depressed and I'm experiencing depression. Because if you're depressed and identifying as that, now it's like downward spiral potential. So like the delivery of these mental health messages, I think, is going to be super interesting too.
It's really interesting, bro. I was doing this research for one of the podcasts I was doing, and I was researching schizophrenia. And schizophrenia here, when people are diagnosed with it, it's always bad, right? It's always bad, and it's always a negative experience, because the voices in people's heads here are negative. They're really bad. They're like really, like they tell you to kill somebody, or they tell you to kill yourself, or they tell you about yourself, things you don't like about yourself. I was researching in this other, I forget where it was, what region of the world it was, but the clinical experiences that people have with it over there were, they have voices, but the voices were all positive. Like it was like, or it was just, they were just there, things that they recognized. And that was powerful to me. It showed how powerful the brain is, but also how powerful our culture is, and the society that we're actually seeding. And this is why I always tell people, like, you got to be careful about like your diet in general, but also your mental diet, because if you consume negative shit all the time, then thoughts start to creep in. And I'm not saying, schizophrenia is an entirely different subject, but it's just interesting how correlated with the society the voices were. That shit was wild.
That's bananas. Cause I mean, like I believe it just because like we're all programmed. Like everything we learned, we got from our own observation, or our parents, or the news, or whatever, school, whatever ends up being mentors. It doesn't matter. So like everything in us is programmed. So at what point did like schizophrenia get triggered? Like if you hear a voice, it's immediately negative. You shouldn't be hearing that. So like that, I mean, that's all I've heard in reference to schizophrenia. So like, yeah, dude, that's actually a tight reframing. And like, dude, I just love like reframing my mind in that world too. Cause we try and do it. Like I do like heat and cold exposure, like cold tub at the neck and stuff. And we reframe people's relationship with the cold, or their fear and anxiety, and just any type of reframing or tangibilizing of mental skills and making it in control. All that stuff just like intrigues the hell out of me. But like, at what point did these programming start? Like the cold's probably like your mom told you not to go out with a hat and gloves or you get sick. But like schizophrenia, like that could be like 1870s here in the United States or something. Yeah.
No, it's like a chemical imbalance. So it's like hard to.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
That's where like, so like I'm just learning, I'm getting into the TBI, the traumatic brain injury world now too. And I just started reading some like health books on it by this dude, Dr. Aman, like the brain that heals itself and that kind of thing. But like I've seen some of his presentations and those kind of things. And like this is kind of where I got some of the influence on like my stance on mental health, is that he thinks it should be brain health as opposed to mental health. And so like what's truly influencing our brain health, and like it really should like a bunch of different things like sleep, caffeine, nicotine, all these things influence like literally like the activity of our brain and like the surface blood flow of our brain. And like, so they have these images where like you can see holes in people's brains from all these different things, whether it's nutrient deficiencies or all those kind of things. But really we just want this healthy brain. So like we should potentially tangibilize all these mental skills into how do we take the best care of our brain, and hopefully that solves some of the mental health problems. But like that, I just that's a whole nother thing. I'm not probably smart enough to speak on too much of it now, but it's just I just think like maybe that's like where this mental health message gets delivered better, is like all this is affecting our brain, how much time we're spending like in sympathetic state, locked on a screen, young, like those kind of things is just a whole different world. But just to kind of transition a little bit to like the music side, just because the creative process intrigues me. Like I write a little bit myself and paint and do some things along those lines. But one, like where do you start to pick up like the music in general?
I've been making music since I was a kid, like a little kid. Ever since my man's had a little beat program on his computer. I used to go to his house. We used to make beats, and I've been writing poetry in general since I can remember. My favorite writer of all time is a guy by the name of Saul Williams, still alive.
Yeah.
I think he's amazing. What's up?
No, he's a stud. Like I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him on some radio shows, and then like I looked into him after I saw like his diet bit, where like he like your diet's more than what you eat, what you drink. It's like what you watch, it's what you listen to, it's like who you're around, it's what like and he said like I just love the closer where he's like, be careful what you ingest, and like that. But like then I saw some writing there, and it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, he's to me, he's just leaps and he's just so creative and so inspiring. He's just I'm talking about of all time, Shakespeare, you name it, Edgar Allan Poe, Langston Hughes. Saul Williams is my favorite writer of all time.
Let's go.
And so when I was young, he had a website, saulwilliams.com, and on that website, it was a message board. And on the message board, it was a bunch of people that just posted their poems, and it was like a little community. And so it's no longer there. I wish I could find them old websites. It was amazing. But so we just had this like community. So I was like 10, 11, 12, something like that, just writing my poems online for strangers to see. And what encouraged me to keep writing was these were like grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
And I was like a kid, and I would post stuff, and like underneath it, people were like, "Man, I aspire to write like this one day." And I'm like, "Fucking 12."
Let's
Which was
go.
it was really dope, right? It was really dope. It's like I could just, in my perspective at that age, was being welcomed in that community. And that's why I was, and who knows if they were just being nice, I don't know, right? But
Yeah.
that little bit of encouragement kept me writing. So anyway, so I was right like that, and I was always intrigued with music, and so naturally that just they went together. And I was also really lucky, and my mother and my father were they used to spin vinyls like all the time, like spin vinyls, and they were from different worlds. My daddy from South Central LA, my mother from some small country town in New Mexico, like farm. She was a farm, grew up on a farm, and so like their worlds were really different. And so I got everything. So I got the Eagles, the Beatles, Three Dog Night. I got Confunction, Parliament, Earth, Wind, and Fire. So like, and I loved it all. And so
Let's go.
yeah, and my mom used to even like listen to George Strait.
Yep.
Yeah, like all. So I grew up loving George Strait. There's Reba McEntire, like oh, like
Yeah.
and my favorite of all time, my favorite country artist is Patsy Cline. I love Patsy Cline.
Ooh.
And so, but anyway, like I just developed this love for music, and I went to school for philosophy, right? And so that kind of told me about myself.
Let's go.
I'm just very analytical. I'm a very descriptive writer. And so what I want to do with my music is I want to leave something that when I'm gone, my kids can listen to it. I'm still there. Like it's like a memoir of my life and my perspective and my morals and who I am as a human being. That's basically what I want to do. Like I don't want to like I toured like 2 years right before the pandemic started, actually. In 2020, I went on a tour by a real talented artist by the name of Marlon Craft. He's doing really well for himself now too. So I opened up for Marlon Craft, and that was a dope experience. But what I realized is like I don't really want to do that. Like I don't want to be famous for the shit. I don't want to win a Grammy. Like I just want to be able to create in a space that's my own. And I've had hundreds of people reach out to me and telling me like that my music touched them, and to me that's all that even matters. And I'm just extremely grateful for that I can create something out of thin air and have somebody relate to it, not only relate to it, like, you know, feel it on a real level. And so I'm gonna continue to do that until, you know, I'm not interested in it anymore. But yeah, it's part of who I am. Like I got this tattoo, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a microphone wrapped in music notes. I got this in 2010. It's just always been a part of me. So
Dude, that's dope. I love how you put the purpose behind it, like the story. And like a lot of people, like not like I'm not like trying to confine you by any means, but like a lot of people, like that's where the best like art comes out of, or like the best creation. Because I've seen people actually do that with like their Instagram too. Like they put purpose to it. Like all they're doing is telling a story for their kid to one day read. But like that's like the authenticity that shows up is when like there's that much passion and purpose behind the message. And like yeah, you can hear it in the music, dude. I got probably like 3 or 4 songs from your first album on some playlists, and then the new album from last year is dope too. So how did the poetry initially like show up? And like were you like going through old poems to get those plugged into songs, or are you observing life? Are you journaling and like trying to pull out this message from like the past, or like how'd all the initial songs show up?
I think initially I was journaling, like, and I didn't know it was journaling, but I was just writing my thoughts down, and it was like free form writing. And so like sometimes it would rhyme, and it was just natural. Like I wouldn't really have a coach or anything, and it was just natural. And then over time I used to be super into like, I'm not so much anymore, but I used to be super into like East Coast, like backpack hip hop. Like I'm talking about like ciphering, like I grabbed a microphone and like that type of shit, right?
Yeah.
Doing MCs, like that type of shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't like it as much because and no disrespect to them cats, but it's like they like obsessed over like this purest form of hip hop where all they cared about was battling other MCs and who was the best, right? And like, well, that's what I loved, right? I loved the battle. Like I used to go to, like when I was little, I used to go to like rap battles. Like they used to have them at these little halls, and there's two dudes like freestyling off the top of their head. And that's a dope art form. But what I really fell in love with was storytelling. I fell in love with storytelling, and I fell in love with sampling. Sampling music, I think, gets a bad rap because they're like, oh, it's not, you're not creating anything, you're taking it. But I found so many great artists because another artist sampled them. And I think once I found like my little path through music, like I think it really, I mean, I'm saying like I'm like a Grammy winner or some shit, but like it really blossomed into who I feel like is a really good artist. It's because I took from what, who said that? Louis Armstrong said it. Louis Armstrong said, he said, first you take, then you create, then you innovate, something like that. And that's, oh, there's a really good book. It's pretty small too. I forget the name of it. It's called Steal Like an Artist. And it talks about how every single artist has ever lived has stolen. And they detail a difference between like plagiarizing and trying to pass it off as your own, rather than taking inspiration from something or someone and putting it in the cauldron that you're creating, and then eventually developing yourself. It's a really powerful book that kind of makes you, because a lot of people, when you come out, it's, bro, the criticism, especially in rap, it's tough, man. It's like, because we're so emotional about music, right? Especially like rap. I'm sure if you're a rap fan at all, you've heard the who's your top five, right?
Yeah.
And it's a funny culture because you've never been asked, yo, who's your top five country singers, right? Who's your top five? And even if you were, you're like, oh, that's really cool. But in rap, it's like, how is he on your top five? Hell no, right? It's just like really, it's combative in nature. And so when you're first coming out, like as an artist, it's really nerve-wracking to release your art to people who are just gonna be like, that shit trash, right? It's nerve-wracking, but you realize what you're doing it for, and what you're doing it for is self-expression. Like you hear it all the time. I always try to correct people when they're like, man, everybody raps now, everybody makes music now. I'm like, well, that's always been the case. In the 50s, everybody had a doo-wop group, right?
Yeah.
In the 70s, everybody had a rock band. In the 80s, everybody raps. In the 90s, everybody raps. The most popular genre. People are just trying to find their way of self-expression, and a lot of people exploit it for bread. But that's the economy we live in. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it like, yo, like you're really just trying to express yourself as a human being and your experiences, and like we could all draw from that. And that book really opened my eyes to like, yo, everybody's just trying to express themselves. Listen to how everybody else is expressing and take from that, and that's all right.
No, yeah, I completely agree, because it's everything in life. It's the same as like my coaching style, like the breath work education or the meditation or the exposure. Like I learned that from somewhere as well. And like I had mentors and I had all these things and inspirations and like great humans that developed my style through like osmosis or whatever and those kind of things.
Isaac Newton said that. He said, all that I am is because I stood on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. And like, but that's life. And like the cool part about like, one, it shouldn't be torn down, because like every knowledge, somebody that is trying to like break that shit down, like where did you learn about gravity or your favorite music artist? Like you got it from somewhere. And because I like, honestly, I love the sampling. Like your stuff's dope, but like everybody that does it, because like they transition into it in their own manner too, and then like, or it's like their own translation of like, because like you'll get different lyrics that lead into like this chorus that everybody knows, but then it ends up being like it's a whole different perspective on it. It's that reframing of perspective. And then and the goal of art is really just to make somebody feel something. It's not to win awards or not to do anything. It's just like like, yeah. And like I always like the concept of self-expression anyways, because like, and like, because I like a lot of sports more than football, especially from like a culture standpoint. And rugby is one of those sports, and like one of their ways of like, hey, like instead of saying like, go, let's kill them, win the game, it's winning's everything, and those kind of things, they say go out there and express yourself, because like the game's art, like that, like football is art, like your movement, like how you play, your style, how you cut, everything, like how physical you play. Like Kush has different art than I do, you have different art than Adrian or people like that, like all those things, just like, yeah. And then so nobody should criticize art. So like that, it's just like yeah, but it's something to talk about. And if you're not making art yourself, it's really easy to break down art. But and like, yeah, art's not for everybody either. But I like your explanation of how the basically like you create and innovate. Like that's gonna be everything. But like now, like what phase are you in right now? You're obviously creating. Like you feel like you're pushing towards that innovation now, where like the touch is your own.
Yeah, I think if anybody looks at my work, if everybody's interested, I've released three separate projects, and it's hard to listen to like my early stuff because I've just grown a lot since then. But like the stuff that I'm making now, I'm working on another project. The stuff that I'm making now is a lot more, um, I guess, my personality in it. Whereas before I was, you kind of learn how to make projects too, right? Like I don't make projects with the intent on like my first project, I was just putting together songs that I liked that I made. But then my second project, I put together like a concept, like it was all about love. And then the third project, it was like there was like a certain vibe to it that I wanted. And now what I'm trying to do is make something like culturally impactful that I see through my eyes, like not culturally impactful, culturally relevant, and kind of my twist and my spin and how I view the world, but in a very creative way. And I think that's the difference. Is I'm not making so I don't care about the radio, I don't care about getting played. Like I'm just trying to make something that is really dope. And I think if you look at it with an objective lens, uh people would agree. Well, if you like rap, right, it's not for everybody. um but yeah, I think now it's just about exploring myself through this vessel, and I'm appreciative that I get the opportunity to do that, because that's the biggest thing I think, is having the opportunity to do that, because my first love was basketball, then it was football, but music was always there. I think everybody has that, right? Everybody has something that they're just like, man, if I had time, I would just do this. And I think that's what this world has developed into. It's just this it's a rat race, and it's robbing us of our like true like creativity, our true uh selves, because like we have to keep the lights on. Like probably some brilliant fucking artist out there that just has to work a 9 to 5. There's probably some brilliant fucking scientist out there that never got the opportunity, that just has to keep the lights on. And that's why I was advocate for like social policies to help people as much as they can, because like not having is just robbing us. Like we're just robbing ourselves. I went on a little rant there.
No, I like that. Well, I love that, and you hear in your music too, because one of my favorite bits on the 9 to 5 rat race, like I call it the Matrix too, and you obviously reference the Matrix a few times in a couple songs and that kind of thing. And it's like at what point do people understand that they need to take a different pill or a lot energy to get out of the Matrix? And then was one of my favorite humans is Naval Ravikant. I talk about him all the time on here. He was on Rogan a couple times, and like Tim Ferriss and things like that, but he's a really good, clear, thought out thinker on philosophy, like wealth, health, and happiness, and like how to pursue meditation and things like that. He's just a well thought out human. But basically, like, it was either he was referencing retirement or he was referencing freedom, as basically like when you retire, when you're free. It's basically like his definition of it was when you stop sacrificing today's for tomorrow's, and just like a clear cut realm. And then like he's presented it different ways, where like basically if you are who you are, you know who you are, and you don't have vagueness to like your values and standards and who you want to be, whether it's, again, it's a dad, an artist, and anything like that, then like the long, like it's all in reference to a long-term game. But if the every day is not sacrificing who you are for tomorrow, or to keep the lights on, or the bills, or to get to the corner office, and like that's how you solve your problems basically, or like how you deal with getting to retirement faster. I thought that was a cool take on it.
Yeah, no, that's fire, man. That's I don't know what you were saying.
No, you're good.
Yeah, man, I think finding your whatever it is that you can look up, and it's 3 a.m. and you're like, oh shit, I haven't ate today. Like that's what you need to be doing. That's what you need to strive to try to do. That's freedom. That's living your best you, or being your best you. And I know it's not easy for everybody to do that, but try to find that, because a lot of people find their vices through substances, find their vices through escapism, gossip, like a lot of that stuff. But I think, I mean, you keep saying it, but it's hard for people to hear that. You keep saying money is not the answer, but it's hard for people without money to see that. And I grew up without money, and I know, right? Because I used to say that too. It was one of my songs when I was in college. I made a song, and I was like, "Give me all them problems that the rich people have. Give me that." But now I'm there, and I understand why people say that now, because your success doesn't lead you to anything but your own reflection, and you gonna like it or not, and you don't have a choice.
Yeah, and it's like people get it right. Like obviously we'll say life's easier with money, but like that doesn't give you happiness. That just eliminates stress potentially, because like the people live in it. Yeah, some stress too, but like there's some Stoic philosophy too that says that like the closest, like people that are living paycheck to paycheck, like they also do experience, like this is their take on like presence, because like their life is more confined to the day to day or the month to month, where like you play long-term games with long-term money and stuff. Like now you trigger a complex to look down on people, but then as far as money, you get scared of losing it, and so you pick up anxiety with the money. And so I like that realm, like basically like where can you get like this blue collar presence to life, and still, whether you have money or you don't, just still kind of flow. But yeah, that's
my biggest gift is just being content, man.
Yeah,
it's not content doesn't necessarily mean complacent, right? But it's I was talking to Neil Brennan. I mentioned this a lot, but I was talking to Neil Brennan I used to have a podcast where I was just solo. I was talking to Neil Brennan, who was the co-writer of the Chappelle Show with Dave Chappelle.
Oh shit, let's go.
And he was like, man, I never forget. He's like, I was on a private jet with like some big corporate CEO, and we land, and when we're getting off, the dude goes like, man, that's the private plane I really wanted. And he's like, you'll see that a lot with like super rich people. It's like, man, that's what I really wanted, or that's what I was like, yo, you're never gonna be the richest person in the world. And even if you are, there's somebody on your heels. It used to be Bill Gates, and it used to be Warren Buffett, and now it's Elon Musk, I think, and it's Jeff Bezos, and it's like, and then like, who gives a shit, right? Like, you have to be content with the shit that you have, or else you're never going to be content with anything. It's a rat race. So like I hear people all the time like, man, I'm gonna be a billionaire, or like we and congratulations to people who made a lot of money, man. I'm all for you, but it's like that is a vice in itself. You chasing some arbitrary fucking number, like you chasing something rather than well, I'm not gonna.
No. I feed off this. No, I feed off this stuff because I preach it too, and like I preach it to kids on up, because like all you're talking about is like what is enough, and what you're really talking about is desire. And so like the Naval bit on it is like desire, if you look at it, is a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you get this thing. And if you constantly pick up things or pick up new desires or too many desires, what you're picking up is stress on every desire. So really, like the goal to life, like whether you believe, like if you're a reader of Buddhism and things like that, is to let go of everything. And like the goal is peace, like, or contentment. Like, so like now, like understand like the games you're playing, like there's a money game, there's a life game, there's a relationship game. And like realize when you win the game, and like don't turn it into an infinity game.
Well, there's
and, like,
no winning. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's no winning. It's just this constant rat race. It's just, and you're in the maze, and you're just constantly chasing. I like that though. You said,
desire is a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you get this thing. So like when I have kids goal set, particularly like college kids and things like that, like they're, instead of just goal setting of like where I want to be and that kind of thing, I like, you have to tell me why you want that goal in the first place, and tell me what's the cost. And like, and then they got to make sure. So like, there's like a refinement before you even pick up goals.
Yeah.
Cause like the only point of goals is to potentially get this thing, or like eventually when you set goals is just to show that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And then now like you strip that back even further, like, am I picking up goals like outcome based, or am I a person that's capable of that goal? Like it, like say like football, like I want to be a pro bowler. Okay, I'm not a pro bowler right now. I need to work on all these things. I need this many catches and yards. I need to understand the protection this much, whatever, to get there. Or like, do I just work on all these things and become capable of being a pro bowler? So it's like identity based goal setting and outcome based goal setting. It's like a James Clear methodology that it's gone deeper in some other psychology pothole or like rabbit holes I've gone into. Yeah.
Yeah. Another little gem is like they always say comparison is the theft of joy. And so just like you're saying, if I'm setting all these goals, right, they're for me. They're not for anybody else. And so I'm not setting these goals so that I can be like this guy or be like this girl. I'm setting these goals so I could be the best version of myself. And whatever that is straight. Because I used to kill myself about that too. Like, and it drove me, right? And I think there is a healthy amount of desire that can go into things. So it drove me like, but it was healthy, right? It was never like, so like when I was in college or even in the pros, like I used to think like, I'm going to outdo Adrian Peterson. I'm going to outdo Marshawn Lynch. I'm going to out. And that like when I was tired of shit, like that shit drove me, right? It wasn't money. It wasn't, that's what drove me at that time. But it was, I still wanted them to do good, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to detract from what they were doing. It was just, I wasn't comparing myself. It was more so I was, they set the standard of, I think I had admiration for what they were doing. That's what it was. I really respected what they were doing and where they were at. And I wanted to up my game, just to be mentioned with those cats. It to me was an honor to be, because, you know, I was undrafted and shit. So like when I got mentioned with them cats, I was like,
yeah, let's ride. Yeah. And like, but like competition is comparison, like, and eventually it's a value of who won and who lost and those kind of things. But yeah, I think people get to like, again, comparison super fucking functional. Like people just look at it the wrong way. Like if you hang on to the comparison's thief of joy, then your only metric's going to be you, and you can't look at anybody. It's like thinking for yourself without a therapist. Like you don't get the outside hierarchy of what I want and why I want it, or the value of what I want. But yeah, like I did that in every, like, because I went through like arena, UFL, CFL before I got to the NFL, and like every locker room I walked in, I found the pros or I found the best players, and I just watched. And or like I broke down, even when I was in college, I had this GA that helped me. Basically watched all the first team, all Big Ten and all SEC safeties, and I broke them down and compared. And like that's how you fucking create metrics and standards for yourself. And you gotta know where you're going before you go there.
Yeah, it's also being honest with yourself too. Like, like setting reasonable goals. Like I remember when I was in college, shit, I don't even know if I ever told him this. Maybe I have. I played with the running back by the name of Montario Hardesty. He actually got drafted in the second round, a year after I was in NFL. And but when I first got there, we were both freshmen. He was a year younger than me. All the coaches were just like all over him. And granted, this was not healthy at the time, but I was like super jealous. I was like, why do they like him so much? And instead of just like being all in my feelings, I sat down and watched all his practice film. I just sat down and watched, like, why do they like him so much? And I figured it out. It's because they loved how he got upfield. And whereas I was like fresh out of high school and kind of just used to running around everybody and outrunning everybody, he got upfield and sticking your foot in the ground and going upfield. And that I just changed my mindset. I was like, oh. And when I looked at other backs that were successful in college and successful in the NFL, like that was the definitive factor, was get upfield, stop trying to outrun everybody and get upfield. And so I just changed my mindset. I took something that I admired from him and I just implemented it in my game. And I was able to do it at a much higher level. No disrespect to him, but it's like, and so that drew inspiration from somebody, right? And but it wasn't unhealthy in a sense of I'm trying to be like, it was just like, what is he doing? Let me study that. I got it. Boom. No.
I mean, first you, first you steal, then you create, and then you innovate, and then it's like that's art. Like you added from your art, and like that's I like that whole. It came full circle there for a second. That was but that's no, that's tight. Well, it's just like I don't know, like I'm not like the comparison thing. Just I think we beat that enough, because like it just it irks me, and like because I like we all still experience it, like, and everybody at some still wants to keep up with the Joneses, or you see the fancy thing and you keep drooling basically into that realm. So it's just like I try and find like triggers in my brain where like if I feel envy, like I'm probably gonna get a tattoo on my shoulder that says live above envy. It's from like my family crest, but like that is like one of my triggers when I know I feel envy, like squash it quick. And then like if you want some, work for it, like that's life. And then just keep pushing. But I do want to touch on the football mindset a little bit, just because like I love the story of it, and like I have my own narrative from my story on why I was able to get out of arena to get a chance in the NFL and things like that. Obviously, like I think some people probably forget that like you got cut your first year and put on P squad too, and then like ended up a Pro Bowler. Can you talk a little bit about like the mindset, kind of like through that first adversity to like the leaps and bounds that were made?
Yeah, rookie year, I just felt like I couldn't catch a break, man. It was always something. Now, granted, I still maintain that it was politics that got me cut. I was young rookie. They didn't really know what to do with me. And I was like doing really good, but then I got hurt late in training camp. I pulled a hamstring. And so like I was like kind of going back and forth. And so they kept two dudes that I was obviously better than, and everybody knew it, but they wanted to keep me around on P squad. And so at the time, I was like, man, fuck these people, yada, yada, yada. But as I'm getting called in, because I know I'm sitting there with everybody who's about to get cut, there's a dude by the name of Tutan Reyes. And he was a lineman. And he changed my mind just like that. Because I was like, man, I was like, finna quit. I was like, man, fuck this shit. But like practice squad, like I'm above practice squad. And so he's sitting there and he's like, because I think I had to see the head coach and the GM, and I think I saw the head coach, and he told me he was cutting, but we're gonna keep you on practice squad. I was okay, so I'm sitting outside and waiting to go talk to the GM. He said, what'd they say? I was like, they cut me. He's like, they keep you on P squad. I was like, yeah, they keep me on P squad. He's like, oh man. He's like, I'm telling you, man, it's the best thing that's ever gonna happen to you. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, why are you saying this to me? Like, my dream just got crushed. And he was like, listen, man, you got talent. He's like, you just keep working. He said, you'll get brought up this year. You'll get brought up to the main active roster. He's like, I promise you just keep on working. And I was like, all right, man, I didn't really think nothing of it. And after I got an encouraging talk from the GM, I was like, all right, I just had a long talk with myself. I was like, all right, one of two ways you can go. You can mope or you can just go to work. And so that's what I did. I just went to work, and I was like, all right, my mindset was, they're going to notice me every single day. They're going to know I'm here every single day. And I remember D'Amico Ryans, Pro Bowl linebacker. Like, we're practicing. And granted, they had to get ready for the games, right? But I'm doing it to D'Amico. I'm doing it to Mario Williams. I don't care. Like, I'm out there. Like, you're going to feel me every single day. And then one time D'Amico was like, hey, man, cut that shit out, Rook. Like, we trying to get ready for a game. I was like, hey, man, you not going to sign me if they cut me. So you either gonna catch me or not. I don't care, dog. And like that's what my mindset was. And I was like, you're gonna feel me every single day. I'm gonna make sure every single day they like. And on P squad, it's funny because you don't have enough players, and so like I had to play much of different positions. I had to play tight end. I had to play receiver. So I ran tight end, and I'm getting open on all these routes on our starting linebackers. I had to play receiver one time, and we had a corner by the name of I ain't gonna put him out there.
Yeah.
He was our starting corner one of our starting corners at the time. I routed the shit out of him. And I routed him on a slant. Like, it was mean. So it was like, it was just like, and I was working. Like, it was like, I was breath gone at every single drill, every single thing. And after a while, they looking at the film like, how is he not on the field? Right. Or how's he at least not on the roster? And so they finally decided to bring me up. And when they brought me up, they was like, you're just going to play special teams and you're going to be the third running back. And I'm like, bet. I was like, I'm going to be the baddest fucking special teams player you got. That was just my mindset. Like, yeah. I was just so happy to be there, right? Like, I had my daughter that just was born. This was the first time I got any real money. Like, my first practice squad check was like $5,000 or $8,000 or something like that. And I was like, I'm rich in my head, right? In my head, I'm rich. I had never seen no money like that before. So I was just like happy. And I was like, I'm doing what I love to do. My mindset flipped. And so they brought me up to P squad. Brought me up from pre-squad, and I'm on the special teams. And I'm going hard on special teams. I'm talking about like I'm using all the assets that I used from running back, my years of playing running back, and I just translated that to special teams. Like you can't block me because I know how to maneuver. And I know what you're thinking as a runner, so I know how to tackle. So it's like I just used everything I had. So much so, it was like I went to college with a dude named Eric Young, and he played for the Rams. And before the game, we're warming up. He goes, "Our special team coach called you the special teams guru." He's like, "You got to watch out for the special teams guru, right?" And I was like, and that was crazy because like you don't know you're making any noise across the league, especially when you just got your head down. And that was before social media was like really popping like that. So like I was just doing my thing, and unbeknownst to me, I'm making waves on the special team in the league. That was dope. And so one of the other cats got hurt. The running backs, and they gave me an opportunity, and my thing was just like you're not gonna it is what it is. Like you fucked up, you gave it to me. You're not gonna get this back. And because I was ready for it. I had been practicing my ass off, I had been working my ass off, I didn't take no days off, I was just grinding. And when I finally got the opportunity, I caught up, I balled. I think it was like the last 3 games. I had like 100 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Patriots. We had beat Tom Brady. Like Tom Brady, I remember that was a real surreal moment for me, was because they was playing, they starters, and they was all playing. And like I scored the game with a touchdown, and then they panned to me, and then they panned right back to Tom Brady because I watched the TV cast afterwards.
Yeah,
let's go. Was like, and then I was like, oh shit, like I beat Tom Brady.
Yeah,
in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so even after that, right? The climb didn't stop because they were like, okay, he had two good games. We still need a viable, solid running back like that we could depend on. They didn't think I was it, but after the exit meetings after that season, my rookie year, they sat me down. They're like, look, we're gonna bring you back. We're happy to have you. He said, you're gonna get an opportunity to compete for the starting job. And I'm like, word? Like, because in my head, I'm still a special teams player. I just got lucky. Right? Yeah. Well, my understanding of the situation, in my head, I'm the best running back that ever lived. But
yeah.
So and I'm gonna wrap it up. This is long, but this was the mindset.
No, it's dope.
And so like they told me that, and I was like, say no more. You're gonna tell me you're gonna be a real shot to start. Fuck that. I ain't looking back. So that summer I worked my ass off. Like you didn't see me. Like I was grinding, running track, running hill, 5 a.m., 8 p.m. It wouldn't matter. And then we ended up drafting one of my good friends, Ben Tate, in the second round. Damn. And anytime they pay somebody $1 million, they're gonna be the starter. Right.
Yeah.
But I was just like, so what? You're gonna have to lace them up against me. Like that's just is what it is. You're gonna have to show up. So you better show up. That was my mindset. I was like, good luck, brother. And so, I took the same mindset. I'm gonna make sure I wow them every single day by what I do out here. And I think the biggest thing I did was I learned my playbook. Like I didn't have many MAs. Like I probably count on one hand throughout my entire career, because I was like, if they're gonna cut me, it's because it's something I'm incapable of. It's not gonna be something that I did, right? That I'm in control of. That's for sure. And so they drafted him, and I ended up winning the starting job, and he ended up getting hurt anyway. But I had won the starting job anyway. And then that year I led the league in rushing, which is wild. Just that turn of events from special teams player to leading the league, and then leading the entire league. And so I just always had that mindset, man. It's the perspective is what really changed my life. The perspective of, rather than woe is me, I get to do this, rather than why me? It's like, why not?
Yeah. The world's not happening to you. Like you're in control, or at least in control of what you can be, which obviously was your effort, your attitude, mindset, like the growth that was happening. Yeah, dude, that's and then like I personally respect, because I was a special teams guy and eventually was like the Houston special teams guy, and it frustrated me when people like whatever you are, be good at it. So if you're gonna be a practice squad guy, whatever, be fucking the best practice squad guy. If they're gonna bring you up and give you the blessing of being on the active roster, like be the best special teamer. And like it was always very logical to me, and it frustrated me when guys wouldn't accept that. But like again, like there's not a lot of mistakes in the league after a couple years. Like those kind of guys will eventually wash out, and the guys like yourself and the guys that grind and grow kind of eventually stay. And like that's why I always watch, like in Houston, I watched like the J Joes and the JJs and like those guys that had these patterns, and like yeah, it's unmistakable. But the cool thing in that story, like obviously like I really like the concept of like the power of small conversations. Like so you said two-time Reyes like dropped that nugget and happened to be at the right time, but like it's the same thing. So like when you're getting encouraged with your poetry young, like one word of encouragement or one like one quick call and check in with a buddy, like who knows the power of that. And so that's why like I think the conscientious nature of like being like a good teammate, good person, somebody that's obviously like pushing people. I think that was a really cool little break in the story. I've been on that bit, being really conscious, like same as like the conscious of what you ingest is like I'm trying to become really conscious of my words. And because I'm known for like bullshitting, like being goofy or anything like that, but like or like trying to speak out of my comfort zone. Like I'm like the last couple of years, like I don't know, has been way more prevalent. And but like the little conversations and like obviously like even with the strong humans out there, like I check in with my people and it's just like yeah,
gotta tap in, man. Gotta tap in. Interestingly enough, shit came full circle, man, because I think 2013 or 14, one of them. We got a rookie by the name of Brandon Brooks, who was a guard, and he ended up being an all-pro guard, right?
He's a stud.
Yeah. He just recently retired. His first year or two, he was just like up and down, and they were like really like, I don't know if they're thinking about cutting him, right? Because I think it was a third rounder, but they were just down on him. Like I remember thinking like, oh, this kid can't get it together, like that type of shit. Like they would say it in the meeting room, right? This fucking guy, right? He came up to me when I think it was during training camp one time, and he's like, hey man, like I really admire the way you handle your business and how you work. He's like, what do you think about me, and what do you like what do you think I can improve on? And that was like one of the first people who ever came up to me, because I mean, to keep it a buck, I really wasn't that inviting when I was in the league. Like I said, my mind frame was like this.
Yeah,
I was just joking and shit. But he came up to me and asked me, and I actually did this to Andre Johnson, left that part out of the story, but I did that to Andre. I did the same thing, like, yo, how do I get there? And that's basically what he came to me and said. And I was like, to be honest, I was like, do you have flashes to where you're like obviously the best lineman we have, or one of the best linemen we have, and then you'll have these lulls where you can't really rely on you. And like they pay this man that they snapped the ball $60 million. Like they can't have that, right? I was like, but you have it in you. You got to just decide. You got to make it like, and I had that conversation with him, right? And you don't, like you said, you don't really know what that does to somebody. And years later, I'm talking about, always called me, hey, big homie, how you doing? Hey, what's going on, man? And he let me know, like, yo, that conversation changed me. And I'm always appreciative. Like even in his retirement letter, he thanked me in his retirement letter, which is like the ultimate, like, okay, youngin was listening, right? And
yeah, that's tight.
And I think that's the power of community, and what the brotherhood is of the NFL is that shit gets passed on, right? Two-time to Andre Johnson, gave it to me, and I gave it to somebody else. And I'm pretty sure he had conversations with youngins, and them youngins gonna grow up and they're gonna give it to some more pups. And that's those kind of conversations we need to carry over with like life, not just ball, but like life. And that was what was powerful to me. And I was like, really one of my defining moments for myself in the NFL was like I was able to give encouraging words to somebody that changed the trajectory of their family's life forever, because he went on to make, I don't know how many, you know what I'm saying? He was one of
millions and millions.
Pro.
Yeah.
He was all pro. And I had a very small, he put in all the work, but I had a small part to do that just by simply believing in somebody. That's fucking powerful.
Yeah. That's dude, that's special. That's
yeah.
That's cool. I play with him really briefly, but a couple of my buddies are close with him and that kind of thing. And yeah, he's that teammate that will have that conversation with people. So that's cool to see. And then like, I just like, yeah, I say it in the way that like help and support are not yours to keep. Like if like you've been helped and supported, like you can't, like some people hold on to that shit because it's a me game. But like when you give that, you got to give it back, or else that flow of energy, like you can't trap that. Like that's, I love that. Yeah, I think that's a way to just kind of view the growth there. And then, yeah, dude, we've been ripping for a little while. You good?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta go pick up my daughter in a little bit, but
no, do your thing, man. I appreciate the time, dude. I appreciate the conversation, the perspective, man. You're a stud.
I appreciate the love, man. It's good to see. It's good to see people doing mentally well after the shit that we went through, man. Because I know a lot of cats on the other side of that, and it's tough. So
no doubt, yeah. But yeah, just and like the conversations on here have gotten some feedback from guys and things like that, and then I just yeah, just the message needs to be key, like, or like the stories, like those kind of things just need to be shared. So that's like this. I mean, this thing's like a hobby for me, but it is like an outlet. So I fuck with it for sure. But
the alpha stem or whatever shit.
Oh yeah.
Let me in on that.
Yeah, I'll get it your way. He's for people listening out there. When we started talking, I was linking up my alpha stem. It's just this machine. It connects to your ears and mimics an alpha wave. It sends it across your brain. And it's for potentially pain, anxiety, depression, and insomnia. Just that flow of blood, and that flow of blood solves everything. Like obviously movement's medicine, but like particularly in the brain, you want blood flow constantly, and particularly this alpha state, which is your flow state. For me, it like chills me out, down regulates me before bed and things like that. But yeah, I'll talk to my doc. You do need to like talk to your doctor and get a script for it and that kind of thing. I got a guy. That's probably but that's probably gonna have to get cut. But
cut that.
Yeah, but it's just something, dude. I read, I study on it. Like I just throw it on like as I'm down, like regular, or if I'm like just stressed or I'm on a road trip, like anything. It's dope. But yeah, dude, I'll get you linked with that. Then where can people find you real quick before we get off here? Like obviously like social, music. Then you got the podcast too. We didn't even talk about that. The Macrodosing Pod, which is dope. I'm gonna dive into that because I was flipping through the episodes and some of them are tantalizing, dude.
It's just funny. Yeah, it's funny. I got a podcast at Barstool with a couple like PFTs, like one of the most famous podcasters out there, and we just talk about like conspiracy theory stuff like that. It's lighthearted. It gets political sometimes, but we it's a good time with some cats that I don't necessarily always agree with, but we have a good time. Also, you can find me on Instagram. It's Bobby Feeno, Feeno. On Twitter, I'm at Arian Foster. They want to let me change it. And on any streaming platforms you have, Apple, Spotify, whatever, it's Bobby Feeno. And we got a lot of support. We got a lot of love there. I'm actually signed with Mass Appeal, Nas's record label.
So damn, let's go.
Yeah. So we really do it on a good level. It's not. I know a lot of athletes' music that make his ass. I care and I put a lot of quality and love into it. So, check it out if you want to. But I appreciate you having me on, brother.
Yeah, easy. I'm definitely a fan too. Yeah, actually we'll close it out. But yeah, appreciate you. I'll stop the recording. But